The Halion Chronicles. The protectorate of Hellas stands at the edge of war. Titans stir, and ancient machines whisper in the void. Beneath the crimson grays of Thanatos, fate is cast in steel and circuitry. The Olympians walk among the mortals, spinning their schemes. Myth do not endure, they break, they burn, they fall. Only those bold enough to defy fate may earn their place among legend. Your cyber saga journey continues now. This is not about blood. The scent of wild saffron and burned olives drifted lazily through the midday heat, weaving between the rustling canopies of flowering oleanders and the idle laughter of children. From the market nearby came the sharp tang of pickled citrus, the sweet haze of candied figs, and the pungent bite of roasted lamb skewers, blending into an arrangement of smells both comforting and primal. Somewhere a fishmonger shouted his bargains beneath the bleating cries of goats being led by the neck. A warm wind swayed up from the Atlantean Ocean, curling over terracotta rooftops and winding through open courtyards shaded by wine-covered pergolas. Upper Iclostia gleamed in tones of clay and copper, its marble columns weathered but proud, standing sentinel beside the intricate mosaics that filled the avenues. The city's breath felt ancient, yet restless, humming with voices and the iron rhythm of sandals on stone. Above it all, Helios climbed high, piercing through the haze in golden judgment. Blade wings circled the sky like slow dancers, their dark wings flickering against the light. They cried out once, twice, tilting in and out of view, casting momentary shadows over the towering temple of Ares and the Lance Bridge that spanned the lower gorge. Between them sprawled the gymnasium, a vibrant arena of sand, stone, and sun-drenched discipline. Charon stood barefoot in the gymnasium sand, the grains hot against his soles, moving among the boys like a storm, restrained, all muscle and calm ferocity. His wooden sword clunked playfully but precisely against those of the teenage Pericles. One strike, two, a parry, a foot sliding wrong in the sand. The child was dead. Charon raised a brow, his voice stern, yet not unkind. You rushed. Your footwork is drunk. In battle, that would have left you split to the heart. Giggles answered him. They relished the challenge. Another boy lunged, and Charon spun with theatrical exaggeration. The sand rose, laughter burst out, and the wooden sword slipped from his grip. He hit the ground with a heavy thump. Now I'm dead, he said from the dust, grinning. The boys surrendered him like cubs, demanding stories, demanding to see his true blade, Eryxiphos, the black-edged sword rumored to drink the blood of monsters. When he drew it, only halfway, they gasped. Its dark shimmer caught the sunlight like a shard of night. You killed a Typhoid with that, and the Ghost King, and the Shade Dragon, didn't you? Charon only smiled, letting their wonder settle into the sand like morning mist. He lingered a moment longer, eyes scanning the faces, before stepping forward and placing a firm hand on the shoulder of one particular boy. wide-eyed, jaw firm, still gripping his training sword as if it might change him. "You have the look," Charon said quietly, "but looking and becoming are oceans apart." The boy blinked, absorbing it. Charon gave a slight nod, then turned away, leaving behind only the imprint of his feet in the sand and the hush of a young warrior's breath held still. "Train harder. War isn't glory, it's grief. But it comes, all the same." He stepped into the colonnade's shade, sweat glistening on his linen tunic. At the far edge above the seating, Laika waved. A fine Syric tunic shimmered like sun on still water, her hair braided and bound in rings of silver, her eyes crinkled with affection. Seeing Laika on the tribune waving, Charon's pace slowed, his eyes drawn upward. But before he could raise a hand in return, a figure stepped into his path, broad-shouldered, wrapped in crisp Crotonian linen, with a sword at his hip that bore the flourishes of the outer seas. "Well fought, Aspidian," said the man, voice oily and loud enough for those nearby to hear. "Care for a real duel between men?" Charon halted. His gaze moved from the ornate iron blade to the man's scarred skin, ritualistic tattoos winding over old wounds. The spiral of Ares burned deep over his collarbone. A Mistios. Charon had known they were in the city. Whispers had reached him through the ranks of the Aspidian Tyrannus. A band of sellswords arrived from Crotone, seeking favor and employment. Officially, they were confined to the lower districts, tolerated but not trusted. He had filled the notice himself, yet here stood one, bold and uninvited. "Care, Kassander," Charon said at last, the man's name snapping into place like a puzzle final piece. "How is it? A foreigner roams the upper ring of Iclostia?" Kassander grinned, unapologetic. "I must have charmed the guards with my accent." His eyes glittered with mischief and challenge. Charon said nothing at first. He remembered now. Kassander, one of Archon's Araron old blades, famed for surviving long odds, notorious for switching sides at the scent of pods. Kind of man whose name spread faster than the truth it buried. Charon tilted his head, then lifted the wooden sword between them, not as a threat, but as a reminder. "Do you want to play, or earn another scar for your back?" His left hand dropped to Eryxiphos, thumb resting on the hilt. His voice carried the calm edge of real intent. Kassander smirked, nodding slowly, as though chewing the insult. "No, not today, Spidian." He exhaled through his nose, the moment softening. "This is not about blood. Not yet." He glanced towards the temple, then back. "I bring news from far off, and not for every year. Some men would trade pots for what I know. Others might spill blood to bury it." Charon said nothing. Kassander stepped closer, gesturing like a street-side orator in Crotone, his voice lowered but rich with practice rhythm. "Shardlands riders. We were sent to burn them down by a Camercan Archon. Araron, you may know the name. Things happened there. Strange things. and now I carry truth I do not intend to share in the street. Charon drew in a slow breath through his nose, the salt and market spice catching his chest. I see. Perhaps your offer deserves to be passed along with caution. "E010," Kassander said, in a half-turn of his head, bowing with the exaggerated grace of a street performer, mocking a king. "Let your liege take the news straight from the mouth of the flame. Still warm, still dangerous." "You men are at the docks?" Charon asked, voice clipped. "We are," Kassander replied, tone cool and measured. Charon's gaze hardened. "Then do yourself and your man a favor. Stay there. No wandering, not unless summoned." Kassander said nothing at first. Then, with deliberate calm, he lifted his linen tunic, revealing the pale, gnarled scars across the chest. The mark of the Charonic spear, Ares' brutal favor etched into flesh. He tapped it with 2 fingers. "I will return soon enough," he said, voice half prayer, half pledge. "Let me give Ares his due. May his name be covered in blood." He gestured towards the great temple. Charon inclined his head just slightly. "I won't stop a Mistio walking towards his temple. But after that, back to the docks, sellsword. Await word, nothing more." Without waiting for a response, Charon stepped past Kassander, who offered a shallow bow, more gesture than respect. He climbed the stone steps of the gymnasium, slow and deliberate. Behind him, the clang of wooden swords and the sharp calls of youth rose into the shimmering air. Helios stood high and merciless, casting short shadows where few clouds dare drift. Sweat clung to his skin beneath the now wrinkled linen, each step drawing heat from the sun-scorched stone. At the top, Laika waited. Her smile bloomed like a secret kept too long. She wore a tunic spun of serric moth silk, fine and translucent in the sun, the sort of garment that whispered of distant luxuries. Golden braids coiled around her head, each ring bound with silver, her eyes soft at the edges where time had begun to write its script. Charon embraced her, their bodies speaking before words could. She brushed a streak of dust from his chest and smiled up at him. "My great warrior," she said warmly. "You taught them well today." "They move well enough for their years," Charon said, eyes narrowing, as he watched the boy misjudge a pivot and tumble into the sand. "But war is a long road. They've barely left the gate." Laika followed his gaze, then flicked her chin towards the broad figure striding off towards the Ares temple. "That man who stopped you, who is he?" "A Mistios from Crotone," Charon replied, his voice tightening. "Looking to sell a sword to the king." He left it at that, but the set of his jaw said more than words. "Ah," she drew in a breath, steadying herself. "Charon, there is something I wanted to..." A rising commotion cut through the air behind them. Shouts, movement, the pulse of a crowd shifting. Charon's eyes flickered toward the noise. "Yes, sorry, my love," he said, his tone sharpening as his posture straightened. Duty wrapped itself around him like a second skin. He adjusted his linen tunic, already stiff with sweat. "Let's walk. Tell me on the way." He took her hand, firm but distracted, and turned them both toward the noise. Laika hesitated, her words caught behind her teeth. Then, with a sigh barely louder than a thought, she muttered, "Always on duty." Thank you for listening to the Halion Chronicles. You journeyed until the end and likely enjoyed your travels through this episode. Let us know with a like and share it with fellow travelers of Halion. Never miss an episode, subscribe and turn on the notification to stay ahead of the unfolding saga. For free additional content, lore deep dives and more stories from Halion, visit our Substack at halionchronicles.substack.com.